The real point is that they are so similar in color to the solid waste roll carts that we just implemented 2 summers ago that my belief is that we will have elevated contamination. And we're not only paying $75 a ton to the MRF to have this stuff separated, but any contamination within that, the city gets charged back $120 a ton for that material.
Excuse me. Tim, I understand all of that. That's been explained. That does not answer my question. My question just deserves a simple yes or no. Is there anything that can be done with the carts that were ordered that would make them usable where we could have a reasonable expectation not to have more than 1.5% contamination?
In my opinion, no.
Joe?
I'm not sure about that, for sure. But they're similar enough that maybe there's more problems. I don't know how much more. I certainly know that the contrast in color would certainly look a lot nicer. It would, if you make things easier for people, and that way you usually end out with a better program if there's less confusion. So I don't know how much contamination. I am worried, though, if we start the program and then there's contamination, then it'll be blamed on the cart color, and then to have to go swap them out and redo all. I'd rather just take my hit now and get the color that the city prefers. I know everybody's looked at those toters on the council. I know everybody's looked at it. I've tried to make the pitch to let's just go with what we've got, and we've discussed that in full, and I'm willing to do it if that's what you say. But I do agree with the city's position that the program would probably work better with a more contrasting color on there.
Thank you, Joe. Gary, you.
Mayor Honor, and as indicated that the amount that the city would participate in this would be taken from accumulation. It would not affect the 172 rate that the council authorized in the fee resolution. I would also note that the fire code regulations, the International Fire Code, prohibit these carts, 65-gallon or above 35-gallon totes, to be put in a garage in a building. So they need to be kept outside, as one of the cross-contamination issues are, as they're outside, though maybe in the dark, you need a pretty seriously contrasting color, as Tim's told you on several occasions, so that you try to keep that cross-contamination to a minimum. Now, realistically, people will put the carts where they think they want to put the carts, but the rules are that they will not have them inside. So again, one of the reasons, and I think all of the cities that Tim has polled in researching this all have very clear, distinctive carts. I mean, City of Pullman has gray and maroon to match the Cougar colors. We didn't look at silver and gold here in Moscow, but you know, you're talking a blue, you're talking a red, a gray and a red. You've got bright yellow. There's a reason for that, and we just want to make sure that we keep that cross-contamination to a minimum.
Okay. Walter.
Following up on Gary's last 2 words, or 3-4 words, Tim, would you complete your remarks a while ago regarding the cost of cross-contamination? I want people who are wondering why we're doing this to understand at least one of the reasons has to do with the cost to the city and subsequently the customers of cross-contaminated product.
Yes. Once it's run through the MRF and separated, like
MRF being where they hand sort the stuff, we give them in a bale. Let me get you to do this.
Let him answer it, Walter.
It's my question. I think
Yeah, but he's got the answer.
Let's briefly how this works. You've got a single tote. People throw everything that's permitted in it, and then what happens to it? And it's baled, et cetera.
At that point, LSI would pick up the containers. At the end of the route each day, that material would be hauled down to Moscow Recycling, where they would bale it, prepare it for shipment. It then gets shipped to a MRF, presumably in Seattle. Those bales are then broke open. There's a little bit of hand sorting done up front, and then it's run through a series of mechanical conveyors and lasers and all sorts of different separating apparatus. They're actually quite amazing if any of you get a chance to go see one. At the end of the line, you have your outthrows or your contamination. And then that's how they measure it. They'll break open a series of bales on the first several loads that we send in. They'll analyze that, and they'll categorize what's in those bales. At the end of the day, the city's responsible for that contamination cost, which, when it's over at Seattle, it's going to be charged to us at $120 a ton to take care of all that material that's not acceptable at the MRF.
Charge to the city, not
The
to
city.
LSI.
Correct.
The city having paid $70 to get it over there in the first place.
We're on the hook for the freight.
You have to answer audibly, Tim.
LSI pays the shipping cost. The processing cost is $75
Okay,
a
the
ton.
$70 in our contract to us. So if it's contaminated, it's back charged an additional
Correct.
$120.
Correct.
And the reason, Mayor, the reason I'm asking this and delving into it is that I think there are probably more people watching this discussion tonight about this problem we've got than watch the original discussion whether or not to go to single stream. And I took it as an opportunity to be able to explain to the people who are going to be paying for this how it works, why it costs what it does, and why we're looking at the proposal before us. Thank you.
You're welcome in. And with that, I'll just add that point, Gary brought it up, it's $1.72. That rate fee that came through is not changing. It's the same rate, whether we went through this process or we did not go through this process, correct?
Yes.
I think the public needs to hear that as well. Okay. What do you want to do, Jim?
Mr. Mayor, if the $123,000 that we're contributing to deal with the problem here, how does that get paid for?
Gary, you want to answer this?
It seemed to me that it was like a 20 cents a month per tote difference in order to cover that.
Isn't enough. I'm sorry. Go
Jim
ahead,
asked a
Jim.
question, this $123,750. He
Sorry.
wants to know where that money's
How,
coming
how
from.
do we get the 123,007? Where does that come from?
We have accumulations, as you saw during the budget and in the audit process, that we accumulate funds in the solid waste funds. It's an enterprise fund, and it's used for solid waste development, new programming. There's potentially a new recycling center at some point, so on and so forth. So we would dip into those accumulation funds. And again, we are just in the process right now. The council, we do have the solid waste rate study that was conducted, and we've set rates according to that. Actually, we've also just implemented the roll cart garbage system, so we're still getting our ways around that as well. So we've seen some economies of scale and better efficiencies and actually more funds coming in. So we have some accumulation there. What the mayor's indicating is that the current rate won't change, but this money will be spent out of accumulation.
So it'll be less money that we have available to work on a new recycling center or for
Precisely.
something else.
Yeah, it's $123,750. It's
Unless they're able to sell.
Right, it'll be less money if they can remarket and we get 70% of that.
He's already
So it
said
could
he's
be-
got 1,100
It could be a much
of them.
smaller number than that. If the remarketing, if they could sell them for retail price and we get 70% of that, then it would be a significantly smaller number.
if I may. And I think
No,
that
go
was
ahead,
one of
Gary.
the things that the discussions we had were, if the city were to participate to get the best program that the city wanted, and these rejected carts are out there, LSI would be free to salvage them, use them, do whatever with them, as long as they weren't used in our single-stream recycling system. Wanted to make sure that if there was some recovery of those costs, that the city shared in that, just as the city is sharing in the cost to make this program work the way the city anticipated.
Okay. Where are we going?
Well, I would approve the cost mitigation proposal and prepare the necessary documents to extend the current solid waste franchise agreement from September 30, 2023 to September 2035.
And I will
Second.
second that.
Okay, we got a motion by Art and a second by Dan to accept the mitigation cost amount of $123,750 to be paid in a lump sum, as well as extending the solid waste agreement from September 30th, 2023 to September 30, 2035. Question, Walter? You got a question for
I have a question for
Gary?
the council.
Bill? Would you please go over and sit down so we can finish this discussion, and then you can go back.
I'm only a taxpayer.
Well, I understand that, but you can come back and talk to Gary afterwards.
everybody
This is a
else.
question for Gary.
I apologize.
I had a statement to make, I just having trouble hearing myself think over the
Okay.
conversation. I'm going to vote for this. As I indicated earlier, it's a real twist. And I just want to state from my standpoint, from our packet, why I'm voting yes. We're concerned about cross-contamination, that's an expensive proposition. We're concerned about confusion that lessens the value of the program that we've been trying to put in place for months, if not years. I'm also concerned that this item, which I thought had been saucered and blown before it came in here, and could have taken 20 minutes of council discussion time and gotten approved, has now drawn out for somewhere over 30 or 40 minutes. And not to put any comment on why, except for the fact that if we weren't to do this, the single-stream recycle system could be drug out for months and months and months, in my opinion. So I am prepared to vote for this. I am not thrilled about it. It's one of those things that you wish wouldn't come to you, but it's before us tonight. Thank you.
Wayne?
Well, I'm going to make some comments, and along the same lines, Walter. I'm not thrilled about this at all. I think the first question that really comes down to is it government's place to subsidize private business? In a case, this is a type of subsidization. On the other side of the coin, we've done business with Latos Sanitation for many, many, many years. We have a tremendous relationship with them, and they have always treated us fairly. By extending the agreement out to 2035, that gives us some leverage in the future. So I'm at a crossroads because of the fact that I don't know that it's government's place to help subsidize business when it's the business that made the mistake.
With that, I'll call for a roll of vote. John, start with you.
Aye.
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 And aye.
Okay, that passes unanimous 6-0. And I want to make a comment for everybody out there in the audience as well as TV land. This discussion has taken many, many discussions throughout, and it's been worked on. The single stream recycling has been ongoing before I became a mayor. Well over a year and a half ago, a year and 9 months ago, and this has been very, very thoughtful. And this council took lots of discussion in this, and they don't arrive at decisions easily. We try to do our best up here, and this council does a dang good job of watching after taxpayers and others in our city, and everybody out there can be proud of it. And one thing this council will do is they have to make a tough decision, they will make a tough decision, and you'll get your answers.